Tribal people of India have evolved and sustained a life for long, using the natural resources in an ingenious manner. Northeast India is a melting pot of many tribal cultures and practices. For most of the tribes in this region, slash and burn or jhum cultivation is a way of life. This traditional pattern of agriculture, requiring large tracts of land, has meant the removal of virgin forests. No wonder then that secondary growths like bamboo are quick to take to the fallow lands of jhum. India, in fact, is a rich repository of bamboo diversity. 145 species belonging to 24 genera are found in various parts of the country. And the Indian bamboo forests, occupying about 10 million hectares, comprise about 13% of the total forest area of the country. Bamboo means shelter. House construction is the major activity which heavily depends on bamboo. While plated bamboo slivers make up the wall, split bamboo shields are used for the roof, and whole bamboo poles go for constructing the floor. Handicrafts like basket weaving is another important cultural use of bamboo in the Northeast. Bamboo products like these kokas are a regular buy in the markets. Another important usage of bamboo is that of fuel wood, especially in the light of the decreasing availability of forest wood today. Tribal women travel long distances daily to gather basketfuls of bamboo. And bamboo also provides a unique habitat for a diverse set of animals, including these giant pachyderms. The indigenous people have evolved many local conservation strategies to sustainably meet the requirements of bamboo. The Garos of Agalgre, a village in Meghalaya, have devised one such social system. In order to cater to their needs, a bamboo reserve called Nokma's Reserve is set aside. The village headman or the Nokma strictly regulates the supply from this forest. Against a token sum of money, permission to extract a given number of bamboo poles is granted by the headman. But this poor man's timber has increasingly come under threat from enormous demands of industry. As late as 1980, the Indian paper mills have met more than half of their fibrous raw material requirements from bamboo. With vast tracts of bamboo forests thus lost, the industry today can meet only a quarter of its requirement. And the long-standing practice of the state governments to lease out bamboo forests to the industry at shockingly low rates continues till date. The exploding demand for paper has given rise to a current spate amongst paper industries to access the remaining bamboo forests. It may not be long before the verdant bamboo tracts of the Northeast fall prey. As the differences of interests of the traditional and industrial sectors reach a flashpoint, local conservation efforts like the Nokma's Reserve are under threat of being wiped out. The strategy to conserve this fast depleting resource will be for the paper industry to work out viable alternatives like the adoption of more efficient technology, compatible with agro-based raw materials like bagasse, along with conservation efforts such as the recycling of paper. In addition, the industry should be charged the true value of bamboo if its inflated demand has to be arrested. This, together with regeneration of degraded bamboo forests and protection of existing tracts, are the only ways available to us if we have to conserve this important resource and the livelihoods connected with it.
Green India 2047, a project which looks back to think ahead.
India is one of the 12 mega biodiversity centers of the world. India has over 128,000 species of bacteria, fungi, plants and animals already identified and described. It is also 10th among the plant-rich countries of the world. Out of the 18 hotspots identified in the world, India has 2, the Eastern Himalayas and Western Ghats. These 2 areas contain 5,332 endemic species of higher plants, mammals, reptiles, amphibians and butterflies. India is the origin of over 167 important cultivated plant species and some domesticated animals. To name a few, the following crops arose in India and spread throughout the world: rice, sugarcane, Asiatic vignas, jute, mango, citrus, banana, several species of millets, spices, medicines, aromatics and ornamentals. Biodiversity is one of India's most important strengths and is the bedrock of all bio-industrial development in the unusually large rural sector of the country. It provides the raw material base for millions to support them for their livelihood. Basket makers, rope makers and many others draw their sustenance from this rich bioresource. However, over the last 50 years, the biodiversity of the country has experienced massive loss. Among the major causes for this loss is habitat destruction and overexploitation of resources, and the underlying causes include various development pressures, including economic development accompanied by population growth. During the last 125 years, 22 species of plants and animals have become extinct in India, while in this century, the Indian cheetah, pink-headed duck and mountain quail have been lost. It is also estimated that 10% of India's recorded wild flora and a large fraction of wild fauna is threatened. Fear of loss of at least 25% of the existing species in the next few decades looms large, and this is revealed in the number of species that are threatened and are at risk of extinction. Of the indigenous livestock diversity, nearly 25% is threatened. The lion and tiger are on the topmost of the list of at least 1,500 endangered species. India is indeed uniquely placed vis-à-vis its biodiversity, but the country can no longer continue with big mammal conservation alone. These are important in their own right, but are only a part of a large spectrum that is now encompassed under biodiversity. If India does not comprehend the vast social, economic, scientific, technological, ecological and political potential of biodiversity, the country is likely to be left out in the race to conserve and sustainably utilize it for the well-being of its people and the world at large. Biotechnology has emerged as one of the scientific tools to preserve the vast diversity in the natural world. But under the intellectual property regimes, transformed microorganisms, plants and animals can be patented and become exclusive private property. In this process, the legitimate traditional rights of farmers and indigenous people could be jeopardized. Therefore, the final frontier for conserving biodiversity would be to empower local people to conserve, use and participate in the management of saving biodiversity from complete erosion.
Green India 2047, a project which looks back to think ahead.
degradation and a resource crunch has forced us to look for ecologically benign options. Jute is one such material that can possibly enter our lives in a much bigger way than at present. India has traditionally been one of the major producers of jute. The Indian jute industry is number one in raw jute production and number two in world exports. Jute has been put to various diverse uses in our country. Robust packing material, sacks and ropes made of jute have been used in India since hundreds of years. However, the advent of synthetic fibers and plastic polymers drastically reduced the worldwide consumption of jute. In the early 60s, India exported over 80% of its domestic jute output. Today, it manages to export a mere 20%. High-density polyethylene or HDPE is one of the materials that was substituted for jute. Containers made of HDPE literally swept away jute from the field of industrial packaging. From 1986 to 1995, the plastic consumption in India has gone up tenfold. But now that synthetics and plastics have fallen into disrepute, the question is, does jute offer a viable alternative? The World Health Organization (WHO) prohibits synthetic packaging for food grains and has standardized the use of jute. Even in India, there are clear directives on the use of jute for packaging cement and fertilizers. But industry continues to favor synthetics. The reason may not be difficult to find. For one, jute needs to be treated before it can be put to use. The standard treatment process using a hydrocarbon-based jute batching oil makes it unfit for packaging foodstuffs. Further, the use of hydrocarbons is a potential health hazard. However, the Indian Jute Industries Research Association has come up with an eco-friendly solution with a treatment process that does away with the need for petroleum-based jute batching oils. Jute can also play a major role in areas other than packaging. Composite boards based on this natural fiber have an enormous potential to replace wood. Jute rigid boards are strong and durable and can be used to make diverse products like packing boxes, furniture, and decorative laminates. As insulation panels and partition sections, these boards can also be used in places of the highly popular and equally toxic PVC panels. Composite jute boards can also be used for roofing sheets and can replace asbestos and asphalt-based roofing material. These composites are rot-proof, water-resistant, dimensionally stable, and highly durable. The common plastic carry bags, for instance, can easily be replaced by jute bags. Clearly, jute offers immense possibilities as an environmentally safer option. A greater use of this natural fiber will not only be better for the environment at large, but can also serve as a growth center in the economy. But all that will require a change in our collective mindsets. A switch to jute, whether in industry or in our homes, will not be effective unless we realize that the only rational decisions are those that are based on sustainable and environmentally compatible criteria.
Green India 2047, a project which looks back to think ahead.
It is close to the end of winter, and the villagers of Mahendragarh in Haryana are getting ready for a harvest of mustard. This has been a lucky year. In this arid region, crops fail frequently due to lack of rainfall. When this happens, Their survival depends on the trees around them and the livestock they possess. While the animals give milk and precious manure, trees like the kejdi that are grown side by side with crops have many benefits for the struggling farmer. The kejdi makes the soil fertile as it is nitrogen fixing. Its leaves provide fodder and its branches and twigs are firewood. This interdependent relationship between agriculture, forest crops and livestock is a land use system which has come to be called agroforestry. Agroforestry has been traditionally practiced in India for centuries. But in the first 50 years since independence, the emphasis was on increasing food grain production through intensive agriculture. This agricultural growth had its fallout, monocropping and loss of tree cover in the fields. Along with depleting forests, this resulted in acute shortages of fodder and fuel wood and steady soil degradation. Today, scientists and farmers have realized these dangers, and agroforestry is making a slow comeback. Agroforestry takes many forms. Silvo-agricultural, when agricultural crops are combined with tree crops. Silvo-pastoral, when fodder crops are combined with tree crops. And agro-silvo-pastoral, when all three are grown together. The key to successful agroforestry lies in the selection of compatible combinations. In the sub-humid to temperate hilly areas of UP and Himachal Pradesh, trees are grown along the boundaries of fields. They protect the soil against erosion and provide precious fuel wood and fodder. In the semi-arid tropics, hardy trees like tamarind, palm, acacia and silk cotton are grown side by side with cereals and beans. In the humid tropics of Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, farmers grow a wide variety of food crops, fruits, oils and fats, spices and condiments, forest crops and vegetables together. In addition, most farms support a variety of animals. Commercial plantations like coffee and tea are often grown under tree shade. In some areas of Gujarat and Maharashtra, agro-horticulture is practiced by growing fruit trees with annual crops. It is common to see mango, sour lime and chiku being grown with castor and barley, along with fodder crops in between the annual crops. Wheat and lentil are grown with trees like the poplar. On a 1-acre plot, as many as 200 poplar trees can be grown without substantially affecting the wheat or lentil crop. Every 5 years, these trees fetch as much as 100,000 rupees in timber. Agroforestry also takes the form of woodlots. Groves of Israeli babul and casuarina not only provide forest products, but also protect the crops from strong winds and check desertification. Even though scientists have been doing extensive research on agroforestry, farmers acknowledge that they could do with a little help and a lot of answers to their questions. Which are the ideal combinations in a specific region? When should some tree species be pruned? Obviously, research has yet to reach the farms. There has to be a closer interaction between research bodies and farmers. As land comes under increasing pressure, farmers will have to look at innovative ways to bring in higher returns. Agroforestry is one such form of production which is ecologically sustainable and which can meet this challenge successfully.
Green India 2047, a project which looks back to think ahead.